Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Simon from Push the Point, and this is part of our Creators of Aria sealed tournament series. Coming up here is game 1 against Michael from Turtle Plays FAB on YouTube. And as you can see, it's my Oldhim deck versus his Lexi deck. And please check out our previous video showing exactly how I built this deck from 6 packs of Tales of Aria First Edition, specifically for this event. Now, this was Michael's first game on webcam, so there are a couple of false starts, but he eventually uses Shiver and then once per turn instant ability costing 1 to load an arrow into his arsenal. That was Flake Out Red. He chose to give that Dominate, and then he fired that arrow for 5 damage with Dominate, meaning I couldn't defend it all on the first turn. I couldn't cycle as many cards as I may have liked, and I'm definitely taking damage this turn. So I'm just having a look at my hand, choosing which card to defend with. I can only defend with 1, as he's activated Dominate from Shiver. Dominate means you can only defend with a single card from hand, and therefore I cannot block out all of this 5 damage. None of my equipment blocks for any more than 1. Which is my Rotten Old Buckler, and I do not want to use that this early if possible. So it looks like a block with a Glacial Footsteps there. Just reduce the damage as much as possible. Maybe I needed to cycle that card out of my hand, and then we move on, clear up that turn. Both players draw up to 4 after the first turn. As you can see, Michael has arsenaled a card there. I'm going to draw up to 4, and then I'm going to try and decide what I want to do with this hand. So it looks like the first thing I'm going to do is play out an Emerging Avalanche Red. Now this is an aura played into the arena, costing 2, and if you choose to fuse it with an ice card, you create a Frostbite token under the opponent's control. A Frostbite token, of course, increases the cost of their next activated ability or card by 1. So it's a good disruption technique to make sure that they can't play out their turns as they may have wished. Emerging Avalanche also disappears on my next turn and gives my next attack action card +3 on my next turn. So having a think about what I want to do with the rest of my hand here, I'm going to activate Titan's Fist, pitching a blue card. It costs 3 and does 3 damage, and that's boosted by +1 if there is a card with cost 3 or greater in my pitch zone. At this point there's not, so it's coming in for 3 damage, and Michael just goes ahead and chooses to block with 1 card, taking 1 damage. And that's a Weave Ice he's chosen to block with there. A very good card. I'm pleased to see him block with that. As we switch around, I draw up to 4. Michael still has 3 cards in hand and 1 in arsenal. Again, because it's his first game on webcam, maybe a bit nervous, hasn't cleared up his pitch zone. But the first thing he chooses to do on this turn is fire a Frazzle from arsenal. Now again, this is an arrow card, can only be used from arsenal, and is coming at me for 5. It's a lightning fuse card, and if it's fused, which it is here with flash, then if this hits, if it's fused and it hits, it deals 1 more damage. So coming in for 5, if it hits, it will actually deal a total of 6 damage. And that effect is for any attack this turn. I'm pleased to see Michael doesn't have go again at this point, so I just choose to block out the whole 5 there with a Mulch and a Weave Earth. So that leaves me with 2 cards in hand, 1 in arsenal, and the Emerging Avalanche is going to pop on this turn. So that would give my next attack action card +3. And that does give me the possibility of a fairly significant turn, depending on what I have in my hand there. Some of the Guardian attacks come in for very powerful 6, 7, 8 attack. And this one is a generic Earth card, Break Ground. Red, pitch 3, coming in for 7, plus the 3 from Emerging Avalanche, coming in for 10 total. And when you play Break Ground, you may put your arsenal on bottom of your deck and draw another card. I choose not to do that at this stage. And Michael just chooses to block with 2 cards. At this point, taking 5 damage, dropping down to 14 to my 18. Now I'm quite pleased to see that. 2 block and 5 damage getting through. And it's always interesting to see what your opponent's going to do when they've not fully blocked something. Can they push enough damage to make that 5 damage worth taking? Now you see he starts his turn here with a yellow Ball Lightning coming in for 2. Ball Lightning states whenever a lightning or elemental action card would deal damage, this combat chain, instead it deals that much damage +1. So this is coming at me for 2. If it were to hit, it would actually be 3 total. And I think I'm going to go ahead and let that hit. Drop my life down to 15. I still have a slight advantage. And I obviously like the look of whatever's in my hand enough that I don't mind taking that 3 damage. I know there's that Dazzling Crescendo face up in Arsenal, and that's now coming at me without fuse for 4. No go again, just 4 straight damage. If it was a hit, it would then be 5 damage because of the Ball Lightning, and I choose to block that out with a Thump and the Rotten Old Buckler to do all 4. Remaining, keeping 3 cards in hand, sorry. So Michael draws up, move on to my turn, got 3 cards in hand, 1 in arsenal. Again, potential for a significant turn at this stage in the game. And I'm going to activate my Coat of Frost, which activates, gives a Frostbite to the opponent, again increasing their card cost and activated ability cost by 1. And then I'm going to play an Endless Winter, cost 4, so I pitch, turn Timber and a Mulch. Unfortunately, I cannot fuse it. However, the effect from this card is split. So if it was fused, it would create a Frostbite token for every card used to defend. Unfortunately, that's not the case. However, it's still coming in for 8 damage, and if it hits, activated abilities will create a Frostbite token on Michael's next turn. So he chooses to block it out fully for 8. Doesn't want that to hit, which is completely understandable. And he's used 3 cards to block that out fully there. So that gives me the chance to draw up a new hand. He's going to pitch a blue Weavice and play another red Frazzle from Arsenal. So would have normally cost 1. His Frostbite on the mat there now means that costs 2, and that's again coming at me for 5. No fuse, just 5 straight damage, and this is a good chance to just block for 3. Sorry, take 2 damage. Again, keeping a 3-card hand, and there's the reason why. Played from Arsenal a red Glacial Footsteps, which is coming in for 10 damage, cost 6, so pitch 2 cards, and if fused, it has Dominate. It's Ice Fusion, and coming at him for 10 dominate. Taking his life down to 7. Starting to open up a bit of a life advantage there. 13 down to 7. Lexi can be quite tricky with the amount of dominate she can have on tap with her Shiver. I don't want to drop too low, and I really don't want to be too close if possible. So getting out some of these big attacks early on is a bit of a blessing. So as you can see, Michael's just loaded up his arsenal using Shiver to load a snapshot face up. He chooses to play a yellow Weave Earth, which adds +2, and if the attack is fused, the attack will then go again. And then he's going to play out this red snapshot from Arsenal. So 4 plus the 2 from Weave Lightning, and it's coming at me for 6 damage. Again, just straight damage. He's not fused, he's not activated Snapshot's ability there, but he does have Dominate. He used Dominate when he added the arrow to Arsenal with Shiver. So fortunately, I had a Pulsarizer Loft in hand and managed to pay for that. Block all 6 damage with 1 card. Bit of talk there about how it was the cold foil version he noticed on the camera. And he draws up. Move on to the next turn. This one's just an off turn for me, using a blue pitch card to come at him for 3 with Titan's Fist. Not a heavily pressured turn from me this turn, but it does allow me to push damage when he's really below half life already, and he chooses to keep a full hand of 4 cards and go down to 4. Always a tricky decision against Oldhim with some of the big dominate attacks available to him. So we see Michael pitch to use Shiver's ability to load a Flake Out Red to his arsenal face up, and that will either have Dominate or +1. He's using his one floating resource, to play a red Icequake, which adds +3 to the next attack, and if that attack hits, any attack hits this turn, will create a Frostbite token under the opponent's control. He's then pitching a final resource to play Flake Out Red for 8 Dominate, and if it hits, create a Frostbite token. This is a pretty tricky situation, but I've decided that I will keep my full hand, allow the creation of a Frostbite token. I couldn't defend all the damage, I couldn't stop the Frostbite, so I felt that keeping a full hand was probably the best thing to do in this situation. And you can see what I had in my arsenal there was a red Earthlore Surge, which adds +5 to my next attack. Cost 2 normally. With the Frostbite, I've had to pitch a blue to cover that because it costs 1 extra. And then we're going to play out a blue Entwine Ice, which on its own would be 3. I'm going to fuse it with an Ice card. So adding the Earthlore Surge, I'm now coming in for 8 Dominate. And with Michael's life down to 4, there's very, very little he can do about that. So it was a calculated risk dropping down to 5 on my part. And I obviously had the hand to do just enough damage. 8 Dominate. He can only defend for 3 with an arrow card. So very, very happy to win a fairly close game against a great opponent, and it was just great to chat with Michael and hear about his journey and entry into the world of Flesh and Blood. There you see the virtual handshakes over webcam, and yeah, it was really lovely to chat to him. And this Creators of Aria sealed event has been a breath of fresh air, and I look forward to game 2. So like and subscribe, guys. Tell us what you thought of the video in the comments, and I'll see you soon.